Hello, today I'm going to give a quick overview on how to set up debugging in a Supabase project. This will show you how to debug edge functions as well as a project with a Vite front end. You can see the full GitHub repo in the links below. Let's get started. So in this project we're just going to start from scratch. We have an empty VS Code project here, Supabase init. And then we're going to create the Vite front end. And so this is saying there's already some code in here, but that's fine. Okay. And then we want to install the Supabase node package. Alright, so now we go into our folder tree. We have the Supabase project. We have our Vite front end. We can see that this project is running correctly. There it is. All right. So now we want to create a couple edge functions to debug. So we'll do Supabase, Supabase functions, new, add numbers. Sure, we'll generate the Dino settings. Supabase functions, new, greet. Alright, so now we have these two functions. We'll go into them and just add a little bit of code so that we can set our breakpoints. Constant sum equals 3 plus 3. We'll go into greet and say constant hello equals hello friend. Okay. Alright, now we're going to create a Vite config file, so we'll call this Vite.config. Add a couple buttons in our front end to call the back-end edge functions, and that way we can test the debugging. And I'm just going to replace all this with a couple buttons. So all this code does is it creates the Supabase client, and these are hard-coded here, but in a real project you would have these as environment variables. And then it just creates a couple buttons, and then we have some event listeners so that when those buttons are clicked, something will happen. Alright, and then the final and kind of most important piece is to create our launch.json file. So in VS Code, launch.json handles the debug profiles. And so I'm not going to type all this out, but we'll walk through it just a bit. Okay, so in this launch.json we have the debug Vite front end. So obviously this is responsible for the debug profile for the front end. And then we have debug edge functions, which is responsible for the edge functions. Now the main piece that you may have to update is here. So this specifies the path to the compiled edge function scripts. I think that it will be something like this, but we'll show you how to get this value. All right, so now we're going to, we'll run the front end. We're going to create a new terminal. Since I'm going to run Supabase start again. So our Supabase project has started. Now we want to serve the functions. So we run Supabase functions.serve, and then the key thing here is inspect mode. We actually want inspect mode break. Alright, so now this is running. And now we can go into the Chrome. We'll go to Chrome. Inspect. We want to configure it, and we want this path to be here because this is what Supabase runs on. And we click open dedicated node, and then if we go back to our we'll open it up here, our project, and we'll move it over so we can see both. So we have the two buttons. I'm going to click one of them. Hits that breakpoint there, and continue. Alright, So now we can see the path here. So this is the path that the edge function code is compiled to. So we'll copy this, and this may be different on your machine. And we'll go back into the code, and we will add it right here. So you copy everything up to the specific function code, and then you add it right here. And then this way, your debugger is pointed at the right compiled edge runtime. All right, so now we're going to save that. And so now, to debug. So we'll go here, and we want to run both debuggers. So we'll start the debug front end, and that opens this new debugger window. So now if we go back into the code, and we go into main, we can add we'll add a breakpoint here when we click the greet button. So now we go here, click call greet, and we can see that it has hit our breakpoint. So debugging the front end is working. We will start the other debugger. All right, so now we should be debugging the back end as well. And we can we'll go into the greet again, and we'll set a breakpoint here. And so this is good. You can see that the breakpoint is red, it's not hollow, so that means that it should be working. So now we're going to, and you can see that both debuggers are running. So debug byte front end, debug edge functions are both running. So we're going to hit continue. So it did pop up in the Chrome DevTools. We don't actually need this piece anymore. So we'll close that, but we'll go back in here, and then you can see we can step through. We can see that now we're able to debug this edge function. And hit continue. So now it's great. We've got debugging working, and there's one other thing to be aware of. So now if we go in and add a breakpoint to add numbers, you see how it's hollow. So we have to restart our edge function server to debug a different edge function. So we'll go here, we'll hit Control C, and then we can just press up and restart this. And so it will still be hollow, but we can set this breakpoint here, and then we'll go in here, back to our code, and we'll hit call add numbers. And so when you on the first debugging run, it will hit this breakpoint, but we can just hit continue once, and then it hits our breakpoint and add numbers. And so that's it for debugging Supabase projects in V. Yeah, please let me know if you guys have any questions. Thank you.